What can you tell us straight off about Dust 514?
First and foremost, what we're aiming for is to make a great console first-person shooter experience, and taking everything that we know about sort of online gameplay and bringing that into that format. And then, of course, by connecting it to EVE Online, I think it will provide meaning to that sort of genre of games beyond what we have seen before. Often running around in a shooter can feel a little bit pointless after a while when you sort of iterate over the loop again and again in an endless deja vu. But now with the connection between Dust and EVE, everything that happens inside this console first-person shooter will have a persistent effect beyond what anyone can dream of, I would think.
Can you expand a bit on how that connection is supposed to look?
Well, mostly the connection is through the control of the planets inside EVE Online. So to be able to control a planet in EVE, you will have to get people fighting in Dust to conquer that planet for you. So mostly EVE Online players will be issuing contracts, which then the Dust Marines can then accept and then attack another Dust team to kick them out of a district in a planet, which will affect the control of a planet, which will affect the control of the solar system, of the constellation, of the region, and ultimate dominance of EVE Online.
How will you populate Dust with that amount of players?
Well, we're using a clever mixture of procedural and sort of crafted methods to be able to generate unique battlefields and unique terrains on each of the planets of EVE Online. But naturally, all of the 50,000 planets of EVE Online will not be fightable. I mean, some of them are massive gas giants, and you would need special gear to be able to just exist on that planet. But the Earth-like planets of EVE, we haven't released any specific details about which of them will be sort of conquerable through Dust mechanics, but the basic idea is that there will be quite a lot of planets, even though it won't be the full 50,000 planets.
How low-sec or high-sec will these planets go? Will we be fighting over Amar Prime or only on battlefields out in the null-sec areas of the game?
Well, this is something that we're currently debating internally, and we will probably start sort of cautiously exploring how far we will push this, as we have always done with any sort of vast features that have vast implications. But if everything goes according to plan, I think we will see more and more interaction between the games on the sort of various planets and more things within the EVE Online universe.
How have players reacted so far to the news? Because a lot of players of EVE Online, especially in the big alliances, so to speak, can be to add a whole different game to it that they're not used to. How do you think they will react to that?
The players of EVE certainly care a lot about EVE Online, and as do we, that have been making it now for it's spanning 2 decades now. So I think we have developed at least some degree of trust of the player base that CCP is going to do the right thing for EVE Online. And I think once we release the sort of extended details about the interaction at FanFest in October, then people will feel comfortable that this will add value to the EVE experience and not really take anything away from it.
Someone pointed out only earlier today or yesterday that the artwork that's been released for Dust 514 so far looks kind of like Ambulation or Walking in Stations. Isn't there a connection between them?
Of course. I mean, this is the EVE IP, like the way people dress and build houses and tanks and trucks on planets is not that dissimilar from what they build space stations and spaceships. So we have strived very much, and the team in Shanghai has done a tremendous accomplishments in like taking the Amar style, adapting it to what would it look like on the ground. Same with like Minmatar, Galente, Caldari, and that is our focus, to get the racial style but still give it a on the ground relevance. So you won't see a perfect match between a spaceship and a flying vehicle on a planet, because like it has to be more aerodynamic and it has to like function differently. But you will definitely see the style connection, and we're very much striving for that.
One thing that struck me personally was that EVE Online, the way it's looking, the way it's constantly expanding, more or less, that you have many years left on that game, the way it looks right now. But the current console generation perhaps won't last that long, especially if you're developing for the Xbox 360. How will Dust 514 adapt to future console generations? How will you deal with with transitions between current gen and next gen?
Yeah. Well, I can't answer it specifically, but just as we took EVE Online and changed out the 3G engine, redid all the content, then we basically upgraded EVE Online while it was running. So that was almost like changing platforms when we released the Trinity expansion in 2007. We redid all of the content, all of the technology, but still the same game, because ultimately what people care about is the persistent state of the universe, the items they own, the space stations they've conquered, and the alliances they have built. And of course that exists forever, regardless of platforms and technologies, and that is really what people care about. And of course, because Dust is its own sort of MMO, even connected to another MMO, it's all persistent, it all exists. So what happens on the client side maybe is less important than what happens on the sort of server/database side. So that allows us to deal with any transitions, technologies, whatever comes out, as we have done with the PC game.
Do you guys plan any form of single-player campaign for Dust, or it's only multiplayer?
Well, the focus of the project is to make a great online first-person shooter. But to achieve that, it can certainly help to have like training things which you can do offline or do as a single player. So we might add things like that. But the core focus is the online first-person shooter experience.
How will this be phased into online? When do you plan to start pushing for Dust through, for example, Chronicles or through in-game videos and etc.?
As I talked about yesterday, we are writing a novel which explains the intellectual property and the sort of backstory connection, why now Dutch soldiers are emerging in the world of EVE. So we have spent a great deal of time over the past 3 years planning and giving it a deep intellectual property relevance. And so that'll be the first time people will be able to sort of read about it in detail, is through the novel.
How big a risk is it for CCP to do something like this? Because you have a solid product in EVE Online, and now you're pushing for something that you've more or less, at least as a company, never done before.
Of course, but I would say, given the culture that CCP has, doing something like this, which is risky, not doing it is almost more risky. Because if we stop to innovate and stop to push ourselves, that will make us stagnant and not really sort of maintain the spirit that CCP was founded under. We sort of see us as intrepid pioneers that want to do the impossible. And if we're not doing that, then we just aren't CCP.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.